Hi there folks, welcome back to Rich Reviews. So my latest TV review for you guys here now, happens to be from Netflix docuseries, and Netflix has done wonders with its docuseries in recent years, and this is Tiller Russell's Night Stalker, the hunt for a serial killer, and hot off the heels of conversations with the killer, the Ted Bundy tapes. Netflix was like, okay, what other serial killer can we do here now? And Tiller Russell was like, oh yeah, I want to do a Richard Ramirez docuseries. And Netflix was like, okay, go for it. And Tiller Russell is sadly no Joe Berlinger, but Joe Berlinger is so great at doing what he does, hardly anyone can do what Joe Berlinger does. Tiller Russell, upon coming to realize, oh yeah, Richard Ramirez is not as sexy a guy or a subject as Ted Bundy, once again goes the route that we've been going as of late when it comes to tragedies like these, in which we interview the police involved, the surviving people involved, and the news media that's been involved. And basically, when we come to think of Los Angeles, oh, it's a glamorous place. They got the Olympics in '84, the Pope and Queen Elizabeth came to visit. But of course, there is a dark underbelly to Los Angeles, and the fact is they got really a whole lot of murders that have been going on, and this focuses on the 84-85 crime spree that was Richard Ramirez to partially exploit what was wrong with the LAPD at the time. And when we come to think of the LAPD, Los Angeles County is a big place. There is also the LAPD Sheriff's Department, there's also LAPD proper, and then there's all the other boroughs that surround the Los Angeles area. And when one becomes a detective, they're all a bunch of people who are vying to make sure that no one steps out on their turf, and they're all type A personalities, and Richard Ramirez probably came unwilling to know that. The director here wisely does is focus on two cops, Frank Salerno, who helped crack the Hillside Strangler case and became famous in that process, and Gil Carrillo, who came from a devoutly Mexican-American family, went to Vietnam, married his high school girlfriend, and at least at one point he said to himself, okay, I'll come back, get back with her, dump her because she dumped me. Obviously, that did not happen, and obviously pounded the pavement for several years as a beat cop, then joined homicide because that's what everyone wants to do and become a detective that way. And we come to realize that, oh yeah, being a detective is really hard work. It involves a whole lot of man hours. I come to realize before the advent of, say, forensic technologies, and just hope that you happen to get lucky. With the Richard Ramirez thing, it was just like he came to believe that, oh yeah, all these cases were somehow related, and everyone was just sort of like, no, you're wrong. This goes against everything we've sort of been taught to believe. Of course, they were wrong. The director here does is show us a lot of crime scene photography that probably has never seen the light of day, or probably has, but no one has ever taken a great look at it because, quite frankly, a lot of these crime scene photography stuff is rather gruesome. And trust me here, folks, if you are a criminology major, this will just delight you. He also does some reenactment stuff that's less compelling. And Frank Salerno does say two interesting things about this case, one of which is, yes, there are indeed some cops that do fall into that bottle, and hopefully that you make sure that they don't go in too deep with that bottle. And he also says, this is probably one of the only times I ever slept with a gun. And Gil Carrillo's wife here is interviewed, and when she comes to learn, oh yeah, that assault had taken place just a few miles away from where they live, she was like, nope, I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving. And Gil is like, yeah, I deserve that. They came to my door. And the news media isn't much help here because they, at least at one point, one local reporter is like, yeah, I have the shoe detail and the shoe print detail is being released. Obviously, they got a window of that, and the strong arm, the two detectives here, they were granted an interview, and just to satisfy them, Ramirez's name is not really introduced here till episode 3, or the tail end of episode 3, and his background is fleetingly mentioned in episode 4. Also, at least in the first episode, we do get a sexual assault survivor who was just a little girl in the 1980s. She's a grown woman now. And she recounts how Richard Ramirez came into her house, abducted her, and sexually assaulted her, and she was left to go call the cops at a nearby convenience store. And how another family in our episode came across their dead family member, which quite frankly is a horrific scene in and of itself. Richard Ramirez eventually does get caught, and basically he's an ugly guy, and he does worship Satan. Apparently, he was on the run from the local citizenry after his face was in the paper, and everyone sort of breathes a sigh of relief here. And, and Gil Carrillo just goes to a wedding afterwards. The trial of Richard Ramirez happens to be one of the more expensive trials of Los Angeles in the 1980s, eclipsed by the expensive trial of O.J. Simpson a few years later. And of course, like Bundy, the groupies come out of the woodwork. And at least one woman here is interviewed, and basically she's like, why are these women so dumb? Don't they come to realize that, oh yeah, Richard Ramirez would just slice and dice them if he was left alone with them. Again, we don't really get into the mindset of Ramirez all that much, because there probably isn't anything to Ramirez, just he's a cold-blooded animal. Again, there probably is a nature versus nurture argument that could be made, but I'm probably not going to go into it. And when Richard Ramirez is going to San Quentin on that ride, the two San Francisco police detectives are listening to what Ramirez has to say about, oh yeah, an unsolved crime that only the killer would know, and for these detectives, it's going to chill up their spine. And Richard Ramirez died in prison of cancer, not the gas chamber, which at least one person says he got off lucky. Again, I think this is good, not great, because quite frankly, Richard Ramirez is just not as fascinating a person as Ted Bundy was. The 3D reenactments are cheesy, but again, just the matter of fact in which these survivors speak, or the family members speak, is powerful. So folks, Night Stalker, The Hunt for a Serial Killer, have you seen this? What did you think? Please put everything in the comment box here below here, folks. As always, folks, like, comment, subscribe, and enrich yourself with knowledge. I'll see you next time, folks. Yes, hooray.